Okay, guys, thanks so much for doing the course. I've got Amadeo here. We're going to discuss the course as a whole, and we're going to discuss a lot of the different things going on in DeFi and where we see it going forward. So thanks for joining me, Amadeo.
Yeah, hey guys, happy to be here. And I'm in New York City right now with my friend Benjamin Franklin in the back. By coincidence, I thought it was kind of fitting.
Yeah, I actually didn't even know it was Benjamin Franklin. It's so
Yeah, it's a bit
pixelized.
blurred, right?
Yeah.
Franklin, blurry
Oh, I
Benjamin
see.
Franklin, he's blurring away in the back.
There you go. Yeah, it's an NFT. Looks like a crypto punk Benjamin Franklin. That's
Yeah,
pretty funny.
exactly.
So after I took your course that you made last year, that was a big part of, helped me get my channel started because your course came out right around when my YouTube channel started in April of last year. And so when we were kind of going over how we wanted to structure this course, there's a lot of the same things, and then we did things kind of differently and focused a little bit more on the beginner aspects. Let's talk about the first couple lessons. We did what is DeFi, benefits and drawbacks, and kind of differences between it and fintech.
Exactly. And I think it's like the content kind of stayed the same, but what we mostly did, because the space evolved so fast. So it was like when I started with DeFi 101, 201, it was kind of like already kind of like a little bit harder, like dev-ish development kind of focused content. And now what we did, it's like we stretched it further because there's just so much more to talk about. And so the DeFi 101, it's just like more of it gives a great insight into like what decentralized finance is, and it gives a great insight what we can do with it. And there's just so much new metrics, so much new inputs within like 1.5 years or something after I recorded the first one. It's amazing to see how fast we grow.
Yeah, so many new protocols too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we now have like layer 2s, Ethereum killers, Ethereum layer 1, like side chains, so much to discuss. And I think you did an amazing job, Josh, like for everybody that already did the course comes in this video. Yeah, we try to really structure your decentralized financial technology stack in your head, but not only from a technical side, but also from a business side, and everybody can basically participate in this system.
Yeah. And I think it was different because I don't have a programming background. I mean, I studied programming in Ivan on Tech Academy before. Actually, now it's been rebranded to Morales Academy. And I studied it for a while, but yeah, since I didn't have that development background, I was kind of trying to go at it more from the perspective of somebody who doesn't have that background, and going over the financial stack and kind of, if I were taking a DeFi course, what are the things that I would want to learn? And that's kind of the perspective I tried to maintain when organizing it.
Yeah, I fully agree. And that to recap, I mean, everybody did already all the topics, or people that maybe are seeing this video before they start the course. It gives the right technology stack to really start to work in decentralized finance, right? Because I think this is also a very important message that we want to give away to everybody that did the course or is thinking about doing the course. Like, this will give a foundation to anybody that wants to work in the decentralized financial ecosystem. It's a very big ecosystem with different decentralized organizations where you can work for, but also maybe for some other centralized organizations that are in need of this knowledge stack of like, what is this new thing? How do automated market pools work? How do we pool liquidity? What is this crazy NFT stuff? Why is there so much value locked in DeFi? And that's basically everything that you gave like a very, very good explanation on. And I think everybody that did the course can put that on into their resume and start applying for different decentralized organizations. And the most important thing for these organizations is that you're very active, right?
Yeah,
I think that's a very important thing.
I think that's, I completely agree. And that's one of the things that a lot of DAOs are going to struggle with, is getting enough interested people to come in and participate in them and want to participate in governance and keep up to date, because there's such a huge opportunity cost for anything that you're doing, that even if you're working in something that's really exciting and awesome and new and innovative, you're missing out on hundreds of other things that are also incredible. And I also liked what you're touching on, is that even if somebody is working for a centralized company, it's important for everybody to understand this, because even centralized financial institutions are likely to have DeFi on the back end because of the efficiency that comes with them. So yeah, I completely agree. And I think anybody who's taking this course if you're in crypto like this, you should really be wanting to do it full time, to get in here. And there's it's still so new, and it's still such an expanding and emerging industry that the opportunities here, there's no other industry in the world with the opportunities right now.
Yeah, I fully agree. Right now, like as people know, I briefly touched upon it, but I'm now working for Fluid Finance as a consultant and as a chief DeFi officer. Actually, I started as CTO, but the company grew quite quickly. So we have around 35 people, and I now transition more in a DeFi focused role. And I really need to educate a lot of people around me. I need to educate a lot of developers. I need to educate a lot of marketing people, and to tell them what is this stuff. Like we at Fluid Finance, we're basically building a Swiss bank where you can easily go in and out of crypto, and where you can mint your own stablecoin, and we're going to give like yield from DeFi to more centralized financial entities as well. So we're really trying to bridge the two worlds, merge the two worlds together. The biggest challenge in this is finding enough people that are understanding directly the mission of like, okay, this is DeFi, this is CeFi, right? Because if you hire people from a centralized financial background, one, they're very expensive. And two, even if you hire them, even if they have like a lot of master degrees, PhDs, whatever, you still need to do that educational part. Like, okay, look, go to Uniswap, go to SushiSwap, and understand what it means to swap, in our case, fiat USD for ETH or whatever, right? So that whole, we're still in a lot of construction and building mode of what we're doing. But that education is really hard for the company. And I see like everybody we hire, it takes like a couple of months for them to get started. So what we're probably going to do inside of a company is everybody needs to do this course before they can work with us. So, if you already done this course, please DM me if you're still looking for work, because we're also hiring ourselves as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And it kind of also touches on what we were talking about, towards the beginning of our course when you did the video on DeFi versus CeFi versus fintech and kind of explaining the differences of it. I think it's interesting that you were saying the people who, even if they have PhDs and they have all this experience in CeFi, a lot of that experience is very rapidly becoming outdated, and
Yes.
it really needs to be updated. And so, yeah, that's part of the reason we wanted to do this course is to get more people educated about it. And I think kind of in the crypto industry as a whole, even though we have this huge influx of new people into crypto, there's still it seems like many people are just interested in trying to get rich quick, whether through, meme coins or through NFTs or through even, things that are less risky. And there's still a huge shortage of people who want to learn how these things work and actually get educated. And so for the people that actually do it, the opportunities are a lot greater than they are for just investing. So I think that's awesome. And yeah, if anybody is interested, go ahead, DM Amadeo, get a job in crypto.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's also the most important thing, right? Like, I mean, you can invest in stuff and then maybe you're lucky, but you can also do your research, invest in something, and be like confirmed on your investment thesis, right? If you get that, like, let's say, Josh, we were before the interview talking about your NFT and your game thesis and things like that. I mean, that is a really good thesis. And basically you were validated on that with a couple of moves you did. And I had a DeFi thesis. Like, I think finance will be more decentralized over time, right? So that was my thesis. And I thought more protocols would do that. And that thesis was correct.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't just want to invest in Shiba and then, oh, it's going to go up. No, build an investment thesis and execute on that. Mostly it's a little bit for the long run, and get validated on that. Then you will make money and actually learn something at the same time as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even if you do your research and stuff and you want to invest in Shiba, that's totally fine. But the point is to be educated and informed. And you can't be informed unless you're also educated first. So you have to kind of learn the fundamentals and get a more broad view of what's going on before is this protocol, taking Shiba, which has maybe a $30 billion valuation or something, a really high market cap. And they are doing, I was talking to one of my friends who's a big fan of it, and they're building a DEX and they're building some other tools with it, but at the same time, there are other dexes that are more reliable, that have been around for longer with far lower valuations, and they have a lot more, use and liquidity and things like that. So whatever you want to do and whatever you want to invest in it, the idea is that, by first investing in your own education, it's the least risky, first of all, and it has the potential for far more gains than you could possibly make just by investing. And even for me, I as I've told you before, and maybe I said it in my introduction video when I did the course, that if it wasn't for me joining the Avalon Tech Academy when it first started and learning about all that I wouldn't have started DeFi now. So it's the education that comes, and then obviously it's going to open up more opportunities than I would have if I didn't have the YouTube channel.
Exactly. And it takes quite some time. I also burnt my fingers. Like I started in crypto like around 2012, 2013. I kind of also went to a longer bear market, two times now already. And, I burnt my fingers. I sold too early. I bought the top, and all those things will happen to everybody in the industry. And you just need to be sure to learn from those experiences and move forward, make a correct investment thesis, and try to learn something and have fun with it as well. Like try to have fun with it. Try to, wow, this is weird, this cool community in Ethereum with all the, rainbows and unicorns and stuff. It's really, it's fun. It's a fun place. It's a fun industry to be in, and try to, have some fun and try to have your longer term thesis set up. And, like when you want to invest in something in Avalanche or Polygon or Solana or anything, it's all good, right? So, I also invest and investigate all these different chains. For me, I did come back on my main thesis that I think Ethereum will be probably the main center point of a lot of things that will happen, but I still invest in different chains. And there's no, it's not a debate. It's not like it's not like a maximalist view. It's just research that I did, and then I come to a certain conclusion. I stick with that conclusion, but I still branch out and I still revalidate my assumptions all the time. And I try to explore different chains as well. A really fun story for me is that I was pretty early on with Axie Infinity. Actually, I gave the first Axie Infinity meetup in the Philippines with my nonprofit foundation, Block Devs Asia. And we actually welcomed Jiho in the Philippines, in Manila, and also Gabby from Yield Guild. We had them all in one room. We just had like an event with like 20 people showing up. There was no interest there. And I played the game a couple of times. I bought some land and some other stuff just for fun, just to support the project. And that turned out really well for me, actually, but I didn't fully understand it, but overall it turned out really well. So like trying to try out all these different weird avenues in crypto, there's a lot of new, probably weirder avenues that will open up. Just try it out, have some fun, and learn from it, and then try to stick to like one main thesis, and try to branch out a little bit where you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and it's when you're mentioning using different chains other than Ethereum, I also, despite Ethereum's failure to scale right now and just the cost of using it, I still think that it's still has by far the biggest chance of success, because when ETH 2.0 actually launches and starts working, if it is successful, then a lot of these side chains, they don't have the utility that they have right now, because a lot of them, their main value proposition is that they're not Ethereum. And once Ethereum if it can scale successfully, then I think that, yeah, these other ones are going to have a lot of struggles. That said, I also agree that there are really good ones. I'm personally not a fan of BSC. I do use it, but I just don't really like Binance very much. I have liked using Polygon. I really like using Solana. I've been a fan of Solana since I first heard about it last year, although I wish I had, invested more into it last year when it was like $1.50. But it is important to think, from my perspective on it, I think that, if I were to say, I think Ethereum has an 85% chance of becoming super dominant, then maybe I should have 85% of that section of my portfolio in ETH, and then the other 15% in other things like Solana or Matic or Avex or, whatever it is. And so that's kind of the way that I think about it, as far as like, I think this percentage likely to succeed. So that's the percentage of my portfolio that'll be allocated towards that.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And in my video, actually, in the course, I also talk about like a roll-up centric for Ethereum. I talk about these different chains, different risk spectrums. And I think like the blockchain trilemma,
Yeah.
I think it's an unsolvable problem. But let's see, like, for example, IOTA was like, we solved the blockchain trilemma, but I think it's an unsolvable problem. And I think that's also fine. It's just, it means that you have one higher security tier, one lower security tier, and you just need to pick what you feel comfortable with. And it's also the market that will eventually decide what is the best risk factor and the best speed, what is the best point in that trilemma that the market is most comfortable. And, you just in the thesis, again, try to follow where that potentially will be. Yeah, we're going to see what happens. I again want to encourage everybody to go to the forum and discuss that with us. Like me and Joseph probably respond there. We can have like some in-depth discussions. Would happy to have some technical discussions there as well on like what does the roll-ups centric roadmap for Ethereum mean? How does that work? Because like I think also sharding is at one point it's very underrated, but it's also overrated. I think that still the probability between the composability between the different shards is still a really big problem that it's really not solved yet. So that's why they work with like different roll-ups now. So you have like ZK roll-ups, and it's like you have Ethereum main layer 1 where you pay a lot of fees, but then you're sure that your transaction is secured. And then you have your sidechain layer 2 where you do more like you put some money to like yield farm, etc., etc. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that space evolves over time. And I think nobody knows at this stage what exactly is going to happen. But my thesis is I explained my thesis. That is my thesis. But let's see. I'm open, and I'm also spreading my bets. And how do you just because like a lot of people are getting into crypto, probably a lot of people are loaded up already. A lot of people maybe made some money and they're like, hey, let's learn about this stuff, right? That's great. But like, how do we like do you enter, exit? How do you manage your portfolio?
As far as you just mean like rebalancing it, or how do I kind of think about how to allocate it, things like that?
Yeah, a bit of both, right? So
Yeah.
like I mean, maybe we can talk both of you talk about. I will do it first, right? So basically, how I do it, like when I try to dollar cost average in, and I also try to dollar cost average out. And I think it's important in your life in general to always have multiple streams of revenue. So I try to have multiple streams of revenue myself with my legacy businesses that I have and my crypto businesses now. And then I try to like stream that into like into crypto, and then like I average into crypto, and then at some points I actually average out, right? So I diversify in different portfolios, and maybe some some land, some real estate, some commodities, some precious metals, and then some crypto. And I try to really rebalance my portfolio. But to be honest, like this is something that I learned through my previous bear market where I was fully exposed to crypto, and I kind of had to sit through the whole thing. And then when Ethereum went back to 1,000, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna diversify a little bit into like different asset classes. Yeah, so that's what I did. So it's dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out. I think is probably the best strategy, because like you can never time like the exact moment where you get a market cycle return or market cycle that falls over a little bit, and it's very normal in the market. But people, I think we also talked about that in the course. What's very important to look at is like, okay, the price went up, but how much buying pressure and selling pressure is there, right? Because if the price went up to $1 million, and then yes, I have $1 million, but then if like maybe somebody sells 100K, 200K, the price dumps again, then you basically never really had $1 million, right? So
Yeah, I completely agree. And mine's pretty similar as far as the dollar cost average in, dollar cost average out. I don't, I have a very long-term view compared to most people in crypto. I think I try to think of, I mean, I guess I have a long-term view and a short-term view. So right now, where we are in the market cycle, to me, is the time to go pretty much maximum risk, because in these next couple months, you can pretty much, throw paint at a wall and everything will stick and everything is going to go up. So I think now my main thesis, and you also have to go with what you understand. So for me, as a gamer, I'm really interested in gaming, the gaming aspects, which is obviously a very hot section of the market right now.
Mhm.
But I also know how big the gaming industry is, and the crypto gaming industry is tiny in comparison. And the value that comes from owning your assets in game and things like that is, could take the gaming industry from what it's 100, maybe $120 billion industry to being $1 trillion industry. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. So I go big into gaming and as well as other things, but that's kind of the majority of it. And then and as the prices continue to go up, I'm going to start selling on regular basis, or selling the pumps, selling significant amounts on pumps, and going into stable coins, and just kind of building up that, because I don't want, I'm more concerned with, let's see, I'd rather get rich for sure than get rich quick. So I'm fine missing out on selling at the top if it means that I'm going to be in a good position to where I can have buying power in the bear market, which is the more long term thing. So basically taking profits from these gaming cryptos, holding on to the ones that I have a lot of faith in, that I think is a good team. It's a fun game, and then I'm going to be more interested in going into infrastructure projects, which is kind of where my long term portfolio is going to be. So things that are, if there's a specific tool in crypto that solves a problem, maybe it's bridges, maybe it's liquidity pools, something like that, that can solve an issue very well, to the point where that's the one, take MetaMask. When MetaMask comes with their own token, that can potentially be the number one, wallet token forever, and so yeah, going into long term in infrastructure projects, and just doing those for the long term holds, and then putting it to work in DeFi basically. And when I go up into stable coins, the same thing, putting them into DeFi so that they're going to work. I don't have a portfolio outside of crypto. I don't have any precious metals or anything like that, just because you can't get yield off of them. And I don't think with a 5-10 year time horizon, I just don't think that anything is going to come anywhere close to the appreciation of crypto.
Yeah, I fully agree. That side of my portfolio is also very small compared to my crypto portfolio, but I still have a little bit, just to get a little bit exposure for when everything in a world where things are very uncertain at this
Mhm.
time. But I do believe as well that crypto will survive, crypto will go up, especially with the current governments that are just going insane. And we can definitely profit from that. And I think, yeah, stable coins are a very good way to fuel that secureness, right? So that's why also actually I'm building my own stablecoin right now, because like USDC and USD Tether, USDC is a little bit more trustworthy, but USD Tether, well, I really have big question marks there. But those question marks have been there for years, and everything is going fine, right?
Yeah, people don't
And
really care whether or not it's backed, as long as it stays at $1. That's all people care about.
yeah, well, I think it's more back than we probably think it is, but it's also less back than 100%, right? So
Hmm.
it's probably a little bit there somewhere in the middle. So it's probably going to be fine. But for me, what I really feel comfortable with is like somewhere where I can park my money, and then with one click, basically get it out within like 8 hours or something. It is so that's sometimes problems I have if I want to make bigger purchase, or even in daily life. You want to transfer out some money in fiat, and that there's so many different rails to do that, and especially if you're traveling or something like that, it's can be a bit harder. But yeah, that's why I'm building my own stablecoin right now, which basically is your own bank account, and it's like you connect your bank account to your crypto holdings, and basically you go in and out like seamlessly. Yeah, then I would probably leave a lot of my money in that kind of my own stablecoin probably, but or in general in stablecoins where you can get a return of like 20-30%. And actually with Curve, like if you have invested in Curve like like 1 year ago, or when I started the course like 1.5 years ago, you would have gotten probably like 200-300% interest on your stable coins, because the Curve price went up, and the yield, the CRV yield was kind of juicy as well. Plus then you stake your Curve, you get other airdrops on your staked Curve tokens. So that whole like flywheel
Hmm.
kind of like really incentivize things, and that really gives like a new dynamics to markets, right? Like normally if you have money in a savings account, you just put them in your savings account, and the bank kind of steals your money, and you get a little bit of return in fiat, etc. But
Maybe.
now we're actually getting a share in banks, or a share in protocols. and that kind of kickstarts your yield in different factors as well. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're talking about being able to own a percentage of a protocol, to me, that's so much more exciting than owning a percentage of any company, because I think, leading on what I was saying before about when there's a protocol that solves a specific problem and does it extremely well, that they can get super dominant, where, the number one has 99% of market share, and then everyone else shares that other 1%. And like similar to, what's the number two house sharing app behind Airbnb, and what market share do they have? It's virtually non-existent. And so for the long term, I think protocols, especially if it's a protocol that is solving a problem, that it needs to be censorship resistant. Because if it's decentralized, the primary reason to have decentralization, in my mind anyway, is censorship resistance. And so if it's a protocol that would otherwise be censored, for example, an example I would think of is like domain names or URL or file storage or something like that, where it's extremely centralized right now. And, you have protocols like Handshake that are doing decentralized top level domains. So I could have like, .josh as my end of my website or something like that. Combining that with like file storage, and there's, many different options there. It's when one of them gains that super dominance and adoption, they could have that for centuries potentially. It just becomes part of something, and there's just no chance of anyone else, trying to beat it. Just like right now we use, the HTTPS protocol in the internet, and there's, even if it's not the most secure protocol, which is part of why the internet has so many issues with security and privacy and viruses and malware and all that. Once it gains that adoption, then there's just really no chance of anyone else trying to catch up. So when I'm looking at these protocols for my very long-term portfolio, that's what I'm trying to find, are protocols that are solving a major problem extremely well, to the point, and then getting adoption. Because, it doesn't matter how good it is if it's not getting adoption. Ultimately, that's the only metric that really matters in the end. But that's kind of, what my thesis is.
Yes. Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I think then, participating in that protocol is also very important. But then again, that comes also back to one thing, like if you make your thesis or your investment portfolio, what I lately try to do, and that kind of limits me a little bit, but I really want to build with it, or probably if it's a game, I would like to, play it myself or like maintain it. And now in DeFi, in the beginning, it was kind of overseeable. Like I'm a member of Maker. I was still like ambassador of MakerDAO, Curve Finance, 88 miles per hour, Keeper DAO. I tried to be engaged with a little bit, and some other DAOs that I really wanted to like understand what's happening there. But it's still to an extent, you don't have that much time in the day, so it's like try to really, like, if you work with something and if you think something will work, like increase your bets, but also increase your study and your knowledge stack in that field. There's something like domains like ENS, or like Paraswap actually is coming with their airdrop soon. I don't know if you use Paraswap, Josh, but then soon. Okay, like Paraswap. Yeah, that's something again, like Paraswap is coming with an airdrop. So if you used it in the past, they're going to airdrop, but it's still not really sure how they're going to do it. But it's like they're teasing on Twitter, everybody, like they're going to do an airdrop with a Merkle tree distribution, similar to Uniswap. So let's see, very exciting times. And then it's, it's up to the user what you're going to do with it. Like, are you going to sell that airdrop? Or are you going to like double down? Are you going to, it's so many angles to play with. It's fascinating. So what do you think, Josh, about the current DeFi ecosystem? Is there any, so what do you think about the current, what is your first thought? What do you think about the current state?
I guess my first thought is barrier to entry. I think the barriers to entry are still really high, and the onboarding of new users needs a lot of work. And that's kind of part of what we were trying to do in this course, is to help with, ease that barrier to entry. Because the alternative, I think, is that people are just going to use the centralized ones, which is what they do. And it's what I do too. I use centralized exchanges and companies for specific things, and I use decentralized ones as well. Other than that, I mean, I think the I guess the next word that comes to mind is the potential, because I think it has the potential to basically replace the foundation of all global finance. There will be centralized versions, but I don't think in the long term they're going to be kind of relevant in the same way that when the internet first came out, it was kind of talked down on for being this dirty, weird protocol for criminals and pornographers and everything that people talked about back then, and it's still that it's still used for that. But at the time, people would build intranets. So my company would have an intranet, which is kind of separate from all of that. And I think that's kind of similar to what's going to happen. But over time, there's going to be an incentive to move people more over to DeFi, and bigger drawbacks and opportunity costs for those that don't do it. It makes it really hard for them to stay competitive.
Yeah, I fully agree. And I also think like probably the onboarding and educational part is the critical path there. Like a lot of people will fall off this bridge or this merger. But I think over time, more and more people start to understand that the financial system in the future will have decentralized part and it will have centralized financial parts. That's where it's moving. And I think it's inevitable that is going to happen, right? And it's going to be really nation state resistant financial, really, really big building blocks of our new financial system that we're transitioning to in the future. And I also think we're just only start to scratch the surface of what decentralized finance can mean to humanity and can mean for businesses, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we're heading into a more beautiful world if DeFi would be adopted, and if we increase, there's a lot of buzzword, but economic bandwidth to each other. What basically means if we can send money to each other faster, this means we can do more business together. This means we can add more value for each other, and then add more value for the world and people around us, right? And I think that's something that we're going to enter in the future. And right now we're very early still, I think, in DeFi. We're probably going to see some stormy times ahead, which is fine, which will just strengthen the protocols. We need to go to that phase, and we need to be strong together and onboard as much people as possible, that we are like, well, this is my private key. I know how to manage it. I know how to, use decentralized finance. I know how to use AMM pools. I know how to use different staking or whatever protocols. I know how to really, the NFTs thing really blew off now, but people need to know how to get the NFTs from OpenSea into their wallet. And there, there's still so much education to be done. And I fully understand that, because it is a very difficult part. Yeah, on that note, I also have a cool thing. Like, I'm actually going into an experiment in February where I'm going to rent my apartment in Manhattan via an NFT. So I'm going to be the first guy that is renting an apartment with an NFT. It's more like an experiment I did with a friend of mine. He had this apartment free, and what we wanted to do was like build like a real estate club with different people around the world that they own real estate, but we can NFT it. And then we all want to like pimp up that our real estate properties, and then just like live in these different locations. And just this, like, if you hold this NFT, you are part of the club. And, if you do something wrong, you can probably lose some value, right? So you kind of stake money in order to like rent different cool apartments around the world. So that's something we're also working on right now. So that's going to be very, very exciting.
So if you hold the NFT, then basically you can like stay at any of these locations of the people who are also holding it own. Is that what you mean?
No, you can lease it, right? So basically, what would happen is that it's still all under construction. But our thought was that you have, let's say you have like 3 properties, one in Miami, one in New York, one in Texas, for example. And then like 3 different people own it. And then if you have the NFT, or one person owns it, but if you then have that part of that NFT club, you are allowed to kind of like lease the property and become owner of that property. So with that NFT, it kind of gives you access to that exclusive like way to enter these more these leases where you can just pay with crypto and basically rent an apartment of somebody else and then become part owner of that apartment if you leave the apartment in a better state, right? Like let's say you stay in the apartment, you add something to the apartment, you leave it there, then the apartment gains in value, and then you kind of share that with each other. So it's a very early concept, but I think that's where we're going. And the design space of this in general, of like, DeFi, crypto, blockchain, cryptography, NFTs, like that, it's just really big design space. And I really want to encourage everybody in their daily lives, like start to think and start to do these experiments, just like I did. I mean, it's not even sophisticated. It's just really creating an NFT in OpenSea and then just be like, okay, I'm going to buy it. All right, we're going to do an experiment. And later I'm going to make a video about this, and it's probably going to turn into a blog post and then maybe into a DAO. And then, we're going to see what comes out of that. And everybody can do these experiments, and more people will do these experiments, I think.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. And I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, if we started, I don't know. So when they asked me to do the DeFi course, it was interesting because I was already considering reaching out to the academy to do an NFT course because there was one that it's a course that's missing there. But now it almost makes me wish I had done that sooner, because now NFTs are just so much more to cover than there was back then. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to keep making this course, but I'm never going to finish making it because everything is changing so quickly. But yeah, that's really interesting. I do want to ask, what do you think? So, let's see, how long have we been recording here? So we're going quite a while. So people watching this video have gone through the course. Hopefully they've participated in the forum. They've gotten their security under control. They've done the tutorials. What do you think people should do next after finishing this course? Because it's going to be a few months before we make DeFi 201.
Yeah, so I think the most important thing to do is to keep this energy, because if you made it until this video, you spent already a lot of time listening to information about DeFi, listening to Josh about everything that he's told. But do your own research, right? DY, do your own research and start to participate in everything yourself, because probably after this video is released, maybe you look at this video like a couple of months later when the course is live. There's probably so much new things that you can explore. It's kind of amazing. Start to have some fun in the space. Start to playing a cool crypto game. Joyce's, you're in a lot of different crypto games. I like, Gods Unchained or other. There's a lot of cool games you can just start playing and start to really understand this. And I think either if you're a beginner in the space, just buy some Ether and then install MetaMask and maybe like go to Lido or go to whatever protocol to stake your ETH, like a very simple process, or go to a layer 2 if you have less, depending on how much money you want to play around with. Start use it. I think that's the best thing to do. And then start to look for a community on Discord, Telegram, whatever that you really feel connected with, and focus on that and try to become a member in that community. Maybe become a community manager, become like, maybe if you're a coder, like try to build a cool analytic dashboard if they don't have that yet, or build some integration wherever you see that you can do that where you have the skills to add. Or if you're a business developer, just, like go to say that there's a conference coming up and say in this DAO, like, I want to represent this specific project in the conference. I'm going to walk around. Can you guys pay my ticket of $200, whatever? And I'm like, that happens, and that's actually how I also, got started in crypto. Actually, like I built a website for Bitcoin Bali back in 2013, and I got paid in Bitcoin. That was a very profitable job. And then later on, I worked with MakerDAO. I worked with different organizations. That's how you really, really learn, and that's how you really become more educated in the space. So, really make your hands dirty. Don't just invest and like YOLO and price going up. No, really start to, put your money where your mouth is, invest in a community, but also invest your time and your energy into it, and try to learn. And I think that's probably what I would do if I would start now in the DeFi space.
Yeah, I think, I completely agree. I think looking at whatever it is you're interested in, because the Morales Academy is largely focused for developers, but there's still, a lot of courses, especially the beginner ones that are more broad than that. But if you're not interested in becoming a developer, then yeah, continuing your education wherever you can go. And if you're a gamer and you're interested in gaming, then start to get involved with those communities. As these games grow, they're going to need to hire more people. So putting yourself in a position where you are, a good choice for them because you're part of the community is really important. And then if you're interested in DeFi, doing the same thing with DeFi protocols. If you're a musician, finding a crypto company that's doing stuff with the music industry, there's a lot of things going on in that regard too. So no matter what it is that you're interested in, probably DeFi or crypto is going to transform it in some way. And even existing companies in those industries are going to need somebody who understands crypto. So by understanding, if you do understand the music industry and crypto, there's going to be a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity there, and trying to grasp it as fast as you can. When I started this channel last year, I knew I was already in the space, so I knew this bull market was coming. This is in April of 2020, so we'd already had like the first pump in 2019, towards the end of 2019, and we just had the crash after the COVID crash that happened in March. But I had a full-time job that I didn't like, and even though it's really hard to start making money from a YouTube channel for a while, I still quit and I just did kind of odd jobs part-time because I wanted to put as much time as possible into crypto and get it full-time in crypto. Because I also used to watch, Ivan's channel a lot. I don't really have time now, but and he would preach very regularly that you need to be full-time crypto in 2020. And I remember like hearing that so many times, and I was like, yes, I need to do that. So yeah, if you're involved in DeFi in any way and you have other things that you're interested in, there's going to be opportunity. So getting your name out there for specific projects that you like, and honestly, like meeting the founders, it's very easy for founders from many different protocols are approachable, and they will talk to you if you have good questions and things. And they are in their Discord and Telegram groups and things like that. So going in there, meeting them, getting your name out there, and then the opportunities will come.
Yeah, I fully agree. And now, as you guys know, like I'm basically now the CTO, Chief DeFi Officer at Fluid Finance as well. And there, like, I see that evolving. There's some community members that are really active in this space, and we're actually hiring from our community, right? So a couple of people from our community that were just in Discord and like, hey, and they were actually adding a lot of value. We hired them in our team, and there were some people that did computer science that were interested on that part. It was actually a PhD from Harvard, I think, that did computer science there, and he joined the team, right? So it was great. And we have other people joining the team as well. So yeah, start to do that and start to participate, and then you gain a lot of knowledge, and you probably gain some cool side value inflow into your portfolio to do more dollar cost averaging or whatever, right? So I think over time, the whole job market is going to change so much. Like I was speaking to somebody that was working at JP Morgan. I'm now in New York, so there's a lot of people that work in these bigger banks, but still this day, I never met anybody that's like, I work at JP Morgan. I'm so happy. It's an amazing thing. It's really my life calling, and I like to make Excel spreadsheets and things like that. I never met anybody like. So I really want to encourage everybody. Of course, work is work, right? So there will always be sometimes stuff that you just need to buy through, but that's just life in general. That's fine. But try to really find something that you love to do, and that's also, I think, what crypto will give people more the opportunity to do. Like, if you really love to be a community manager, just do that. If you really love to be a developer, do it. If you really love to make videos like me and just do it. And then over time, you will automatically be more rewarded, and also try to be a little more selfless and try to really give yourself to the community. And then you will see that it will mostly pay back in multiples if you do that well.
Yeah. And I would emphasize that as well. It's trying to add value as much as you can. The more value that you add, the more you can help a team grow, the more likely they are to reach out to you directly when they need to hire somebody. These companies are growing so quickly that if they need to hire somebody, and it's their choice is to post it on LinkedIn, get a bunch of resumes they need to go through, filter through them, do the interviews, versus look at their community members that are already doing a good job in something related to that. It's they need to stay competitive, so they need to grow as fast as they can. So they're going to just take the route that makes more sense in that regard, and reaching out to community members that are already adding value. That's what they're going to do, and that's what you're doing, and that's what I'm going to do when I want to expand DeFi now and have more people on the team.
Exactly. You're probably going to look at people's Discord level instead of their like college degree, maybe a little bit, both, right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I don't have a college degree, and I have, there, as far as I'm aware, there's not any universities that you can get a degree in, like DeFi right now. Maybe there are, and I'm sure that there will be more over time, but
the Morales Academy.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly, and that's not a college degree, but that you can still learn and get the education through other sources other than the traditional education system.
Yeah, traditional education is fucked anyway. So if you're a young student, we don't say like drop out. Like, of course, try to finish it. It's nice to have it, but in general, broaden your view. Not the standard education is just a slave, makes you ready for a slave market. Like instead, where in DeFi, it's more like an open market. So it's much better.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of wrap it up, is that once you finish this course, do what you can, get connected with more protocols and communities, add value to them, and then the opportunities we're going to continue coming, and try to reach out to the projects that you're really interested in as much as you can.
Exactly, I fully agree with that. And at the time of recording, we are at a total value locked of almost $3 trillion. Ethereum price of 4,645, Bitcoin 62,000, almost 63,000. It's quite insane. And I can't wait to look back at this video and see what's going to happen in 1 week. What's going to happen in like a couple of months. How this space going to evolve? And really awesome, Josh. And thank you very much to be on this journey together with us and helping educate more people about decentralized finance. Amazing job, man. And let's go to the forum. Let's talk more in depth, and contact us, and let's expand the space and make this into a reality.
Perfect. Yeah. Thanks for all your help with the course. It's been awesome working with you, and we're going to have fun doing DeFi 201.